welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Thursday. I hope you guys are doing well and your week is going smoothly. You had a nice holiday as we are heading into what's going to be New Year's here pretty soon. Just a reminder for you guys, if you have not already signed up for my New Year's Day Live, please do join us and ring in the new year and talk all about the astrology of 2024. You can find tickets in the link below. If you head over to my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com, you can join and get a ticket and be a part of the live audience, ask questions, hang out, and even if you can't make it, you can actually get a playback and you'll get to see this presentation before it goes live at a later date on my channel. As always, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And if this is the first time you're watching, make sure you click the bell button below. Leave me a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear from you. All right, so we've got Venus going into Sagittarius this week. I don't know about you, but I am ready for a Venus change. And I'm calling this video a walk on the wild side. Those of you guys who have a natal Venus in Sagittarius, you might appreciate this, or even a natal Venus in the 9th house. We're going to talk a little bit about Venus's trek through this particular sign and how that's going to be affecting all of us for the better part of the next month, really shifting anything in regards to money, resources, relationships. And Sagittarius is a Jupiter-ruled sign, so it's a little bit more positive and more upbeat than where Venus has recently been moving through connections with the South Node in Libra. She's also, gone through Scorpio for the last few weeks. So this is a much-needed change. Also, those of you guys who are ruled by Venus, so if you are a Taurus or a Libra rising, Venus changing signs, this ingress impacts you pretty significantly. So really pay attention and see where Venus is going, because she's going to be adding a little bit of sweetness in that area of your life. Equally, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and risings, you guys are going to be blessed with the goddess over the next few weeks, bringing more harmony, peace, beauty into your lives, and it can be a really wonderful time to really kind of get in touch with your inner goddess. Now, Venus being on the move this week, switching signs, moving into a mutable fire sign is definitely going to liven things up a little bit. Like I said, it's going to give us a much needed boost of positivity, both to finances as well as our personal relationships and our personal lives. But Venus in Sagittarius, in a nutshell, is known as a very adventurous kind of love, right? We take the archetype and the theme of Sagittarius, 9th house, which is foreign lands and broader perspectives and culture and patterns and things that are lively and really exciting. Fire burns, so it's very passionate. So people who have a natal Venus in Sagittarius, they will tend to seek excitement and adventure in their relationships. They're drawn to partners who share their love of exploration, travel, and trying new things. So routine and predictability may feel a little uncomfortable or stifling for them. But overall, they have a much more optimistic and positive approach to love and relationships because they have a much more positive outlook having Venus in a Jupiter sign. They believe in the potential for growth and expansion within relationships, and this positivity can be infectious, and it can often inspire partners to see the bright side of things. Now, we'll talk a little bit about Venus's trek. Venus is going to make some aspects to definitely a whole handful of outer planets. But for the most part, I really feel like a lot of Venus in Sag is about giving freedom in relationships, allowing people to travel, roam, explore. They do not want to be tethered. That's not something that Venus in Sag enjoys. So we're going to see this theme revolving around freedom loving, right? Freedom is crucial for Venus in Sagittarius or a 9th house Venus, because they value their independence and they appreciate others who respect their need for personal space and freedom to pursue their interests. So we may feel like clingy or possessive behavior is being met with resistance over the next month. But I think to really keep a Venus in Sagittarius connected or to better kind of navigate during these transits is to move forward in relationships and financial matters with a sense of honesty and openness. Because Sagittarius is associated with truth. Truthfulness is highly valued by people who have this natal Venus placement. And they appreciate open communication and honesty in relationships. So we may find that maybe the typical kind of cat and mouse game isn't working in this next month. We are going to be less tolerant of like secretive, motives in relationships or manipulative tendencies. We're kind of, letting that go as we ingress from Scorpio into Sagittarius. And this is going to also be giving us the opportunity, I think, to have much more of like a philosophical approach to love, because often with Venus and Sag, we're seeking some kind of purpose in relationships. So we may find that we are attracted or we're finding pleasure in relationships with partners or groups of people or social activities that are going to align or share similar philosophical or spiritual beliefs. So we may find that there's also more discussions about the bigger picture of life's purpose. And that might be coming up in our relationships, talking a lot about what the future holds, what we're hoping to achieve, where we're going. And this is a common, talking point anyway, because we've got now Mercury that's retrograded back into Sagittarius. So there's definitely still some Sagittarius energy in the skies. What I love about Venus in Sag or ninth house Venus is that these people are generally very social. They're very flirty. There can be a natural charm, and they have like a playful approach to love. While they may not always take things seriously, they really do value genuine connections. And we may find that we're attracted to different things. We're finding pleasure in things that are outside of our norm. So for example, you might find that you're, trying different cuisines in the next month. You might find that you're attracting partners from all different backgrounds and different cultures. Maybe you're interested in, social gatherings and get-togethers, and you're learning a lot about culture in the midst of that of other people, because Sagittarius represents things that are kind of foreign to us. Now, one thing you're going to see with Venus in a fire sign is an impulsiveness. And I feel like Aries Venus and Leo Venus shares this as well. But maybe even more so with Venus in Sagittarius, this impulsive kind of approach in relationships. Fire is quick to do things. So we might feel like we're quick to fall in love or make a decision based off of our feelings this month. And it's going to be important for us to balance out enthusiasm with a dose of practicality. Now, I feel like that's definitely going to happen because we're going to see the beginning of the Venus transit be met with a square to Saturn in Pisces. And then the end of the Venus in Sag transit, we're going to see it close out with a square from Venus to Neptune. So I'm not trying to kind of, squash the Venus party, but be mindful, take your time. Don't rush into things. Don't be too overly optimistic about what a relationship could be or how good an investment could be. Because we may find as we're coming to the end of this transit that we didn't see something or someone so clearly. Nevertheless, I love that this is going to bring opportunities for, tolerance, acceptance, really accepting different cultures, backgrounds, and perspectives. I think any Venus in Sagittarius would tell you that they appreciate diversity and they may be open to exploring relationships with various people from various walks of life. Venus isn't limited purely just to romantic relationships. This can be our therapists, our counselors. It can be our clients. It could represent friends that we have in other places. Certainly Venus in Sag has an association with sometimes long distance relationships or people who may come from different backgrounds. But I think that we're going to have some opportunity to appreciate something different that may be a little wild or unusual, than what we're kind of typically accustomed to this particular month. And then finally, like in closing, I think a lot of people are going to be taking more risks. And I think that there is a willingness to take risks in the pursuit of love with Venus and Sag. And this can manifest a variety of different ways, from pursuing long distance relationships to embarking on unconventional romantic adventures. So just some food for thought on how this may particularly kind of show itself out in the world. I think of like Venus and Sag just like loud and wild patterns and things that might be really rich in textures and design and things that may be very much connected to things outside of our norm, right? Especially when I have my Venus transits. I'm a Libra rising, but when I notice Venus goes through Sagittarius, it's like I'm always connecting with people in different places. I have a wave of people who are reaching out for services that are in all different parts of the world. And I'm finding that I'm having to sometimes do some translation stuff, but I'm willing to do more of that because I'm really trying to work on my relationships with people and accept clients that may be from different places as well. Let me know, how do you see this transit play out for you guys? Just some thoughts on this particular transit before I get into the actual trek that Venus is going to go through. Venus is in a superior position. So we're not actually going to see Venus ingress into Sagittarius for another day or two. It's actually going to take place on the 29th. So if you're watching this on the 28th, we're in the final throes of Venus in Scorpio. We're going to kind of get out of that moodiness, and we're going to kind of see the energy lighten up as the next couple days go. But from December 29th, 2023 to January 23rd, 2024, for the next month, we're going to see Venus in Sag. So, you know, Venus being in a superior position. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. So it'll be closer to tomorrow that we're going to see her make this ingress. There we go. She is right here. And she's coming into a square with Saturn, and then she will also come into a square with Neptune. So this is the closing square, essentially trying to kind of smooth something over, or trying to heal something, or bring a little bit more sweetness to the Sagittarius area of our life. And it's coming into challenging aspect with Pisces placements. So Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. When I think of the squares between the two, we can see cultural differences, philosophical differences, differences in regards to religion and, you know, culture and spiritual practice. But Venus is trying to lead with love, right? She's the goddess of love and socializing and beauty and harmony and art. So she's trying to make sense of why we're seeing so much Saturn in Pisces. Disconnectedness, right? Disassociation, hiding away, isolating, limiting. And then she's also going to come up to some squares with Neptune, which is going to be where maybe there is some sense of like dissolving or isolating, right? We're going to see a lot of these themes with planets in Pisces. But because Venus is in a superior position, she's trying to let love lead the way, to almost in a way strike a match and illuminate why we're seeing so many things kind of falling apart. So I'm not going to say there's no such thing as a bad Venus transit, but like Venus and Jupiter, usually when we see these planets on the move, there's some method to whatever it is that they're trying to kind of bring up for us. So it's not just Venus brings some kind of sweetness to Sagittarius, it's Venus trying to basically say to Saturn and Neptune, what's really going on here? Why are you hiding out? Why are you self-sabotaging? You know, why is this dissolving? Or how can I do what Sagittarius does? Teach, travel, mentor, pray to something, believe in something to overcome some of these kind of lower octaves that we're seeing with Pisces planets right now. So Venus is trying to smooth over or wrap up. Also, where there's recently been some turbulence or issues with the recent Mars transits, right? Mars has been going through Sagittarius. It has been making some squares to Saturn and Neptune as well, where we have been feeling kind of maybe broken down, beaten down. We're tired, feeling lethargic, feeling, you know, lost in regards to where we're going or where our sense of direction is. And recently, the last couple of days, my goodness, it's been a doozy, man. Mercury retrograde in conjunction to Mars is a lot of like, I think I'm going this way. No, I'm changing my mind, or this plan is changing. And there hasn't been a lot of clarity. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. It's like, I noticed today I was trying to track a package was missing, couldn't find it anywhere. You know, issues revolving around technology and things getting read wrong. I've got family that's like changing all kinds of plans in regards to travel, and nobody seems to know what's going on. So, you know, I'm sure you guys are able to look at the Sagittarius area of your chart and go, yeah, there's been a lot of miscommunications in this area. Here comes Venus. Venus is going to smooth it over, basically. So she's going to kind of help sweeten that up and heal all of the wounds or the conflict or the miscommunication or the agitation that's been going on. And she may do that through travel. She may do that through learning or connecting with a teacher or maybe some, you know, faith-based practice, something that's going to come in and it's going to kind of tend to some of these wounds, right? Mars. And Venus is also the connector to the South Node. So that's the other thing, is that whenever Venus is moving in the skies, she's still telling the storyline, and we're still seeing like this kind of trickle effect of undoing, releasing, clearing out past relationship karma, imbalances, indecisiveness, where we are people pleasing, or where we are still kind of working through, relationship kind of cleaning up, right? Current relationships, past relationships. Venus is going to be 3 signs away from Libra. So it'll read similarly to kind of like a Libra rising horoscope, but this is where love is going to be brought through communication and sharing and ideas. And eventually we will start to see Venus sextile the South Node and come into a trine with the North Node, where we're just finally getting into a place where it's like, we're learning from the past, right? There's a lot of lessons maybe with Sagittarius in where we had to learn to let go of certain relationships or certain relationship undoing, and how it's helping also heal as it connects with the North Node and Chiron and Aries ourselves. And so a bigger storyline is unfolding about the purpose of relationships, where relationships could go, what they could be, and also the relationship with ourselves as Chiron and the North Node are getting closer and closer together. Now, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, okay? And we're gonna see that Jupiter is going to be turning direct here in the midst of this Venus transit. So that really kind of adds a little bit of extra oomph to Venus when Venus is making some positive or harmonious aspects. Venus will make contact with the North Node as well as Chiron. So it's gonna be, I think, helping us share about healing journeys and expanding our hearts and self-love and the lessons that come from relationships. And so some people may feel inclined to teach through that, to write about it, to publish things. There may be some really beautiful kind of storylines revolving around long distance relationships and connecting with people at a distance, and doing the work necessary to be able to bridge the gap, right? That's what Sagittarius is kind of about. In a way, it's also connected to Chiron being about that rainbow bridge. We'll see Venus trining Chiron in the North Node, where we realize and we recognize that we can really heal and bridge the gap in relationship separation and breakdown by, being in better kind of harmony with ourselves. So I think so much of this is about, harmonizing our love and our life path. That's the big thing that comes up for me with Venus and Sagittarius, because this is really about healing journeys, expanding our hearts, and self-love in a big way as we eventually see Venus meet with Chiron and the North Node. Now, this aspect indicates that there's like a natural alignment between our approach to love and relationships and aesthetic values, Venus, and the direction in which our life is heading and our karmic path, our soul's purpose, right? The North Node in Aries. So we'll see the pursuit of love and beauty, complementing basically our evolutionary journey. This means that it can also be art that can be healing. We might have connections with prominent women that are coming into our lives who may be archetypally seen as teachers, healers, philosophers, publishers, writers, people who, because Mercury's there as well, who are really reflecting on the bigger picture when it comes to our relationship to the goddess Venus. I also see room for creative expression of love. I think Aries is associated with individuality and initiative and action. So as we see Venus start coming into a trine with the North Node, it's about creative and expressive qualities in love and relationships, contributing positively to our own personal growth. And we may find that expressing our desires and values help us move forward in our chosen life path. Now, obviously, anytime you see anything in a fire sign, it's about action and passion. But I think connections between Sagittarius and Aries is about, courageous pursuits of relationships. Because Aries is known for its bold and fearless nature, in the context of relationships, this aspect may indicate that our approach to that we're approaching love with courage and initiative. And we may be willing to take risks and be assertive in our romantic connections. So I could see a lot of people willing to go the distance, willing to get on the plane, willing to learn the language, to better bridge the gaps in relationships and separation and distance as well. So it can be about really going the distance, literally or figuratively, in relationships. The big one for me is going to be about aligning passion with desire. That's really what I think about when I think about Venus and Mars aspects. After all, they're in the same sign, so they're not connecting. They won't connect until we get into Aquarius in the new year, but they're in the same sign. So there is some sense of, beauty and pleasure, and also our passion and our sense of direction. And now that, Mercury's done his thing as he's connected with Mars, we have a better idea of where we're heading, which could bring us more pleasure also as Venus starts to cross similar degrees. But I think about Aries being associated with passion and desire, and Venus represents what we value and enjoy. So as we see this trine between Venus eventually and the North Node, the trine will suggest that our romantic pursuits and the things that we find beautiful align with our passionate nature and contribute positively to our personal and spiritual growth, North Node in Aries. And I think many of us are going to be embracing independence in relationships because Aries is independent and self-directed. And with Venus trine the North Node, there may be a theme of valuing independence and self-expression in relationships. You may find that your personal desires and your pursuit for love are in sync with the lessons in growth and opportunities outlined by the North Node. Now, on the more challenging kind of side of things, I think about Venus making some invisible aspects to planets in Taurus. So we're going to see Venus come into an inconjunct or a quincunx with Jupiter, which is the dispositor of Venus, right? Sagittarius, and also Uranus. And these placements are 6 signs away from Sagittarius. So it might mean that there's delays. It might mean that there's rescheduling, especially Sagittarius, education, travel, trips, things like that. And where we're seeing that it's not just about freedom, it's also about acts of service, right? 6th house to Venus, where we're willing to heal and help other people and maybe like give selflessly. I think we're going to see this a lot with squares to Pisces anyway, but that inconjunct is kind of like an annoying aspect that represents something that's trying to kind of like be remedied in a way. And this is also known as a quincunx. So this is when 2 planets are 150 degrees apart. And the aspect of the quincunx between Taurus and Sagittarius is an interesting one because, Taurus is an earth sign ruled by Venus and it's associated with stability and what's practical, versus Sagittarius, which is a fire sign ruled by Jupiter, and it's about exploration and adventure and expanding our outlook in the world. So archetypally, when we see an inconjunct between Sagittarius and Taurus, it'll represent conflict between stability and adventure, right? It's like, I think of my Sagittarius sun and like rising friends that are just kind of like, yep, there's $6 in the bank account. We're buying the tickets, we're on our way. We'll figure out the finances later. That can sometimes be that inconjunct, that quincunx that we see with Taurus and Sag. So Taurus seeks stability, comfort, and security, while Sagittarius desires adventure and variety and freedom. So we may find it challenging to balance the need for stability with desire for exploration and the need for change. And this can be financially, this can be a change of our scenery, this can be a change in relationships. It really depends on your own natal chart. And it's fair to say that both signs take a different approach to life, right? Because Taurus tends to be grounded, focusing on what's tangible and material aspects of life, while Sagittarius, on the other hand, is much more interested in abstract concepts and ideas and the pursuit of higher knowledge. So the clash between the practical and the philosophical can definitely create some tension at this time. I'm going to double down on that because Jupiter is the dispositor of all of the stuff that's going on in Sagittarius. So it's impossible not to acknowledge or feel this tension between Sagittarius and Taurus in our life right now. And it's like almost pushing us, trying to get us to get out of our own way, to get ready and get prepared for some of this Jupiter Uranus stuff in our skies. So it depends on where it is in your chart. For me, I think about the difference between values and beliefs, because Taurus wants tangible things, concrete things that may be more rooted in traditional values, versus Sagittarius, which is a sign that's about expansion and higher learning, may be inclined towards exploring different belief systems and philosophical beliefs. So there can be conflict in values and beliefs that need to be reconciled. And that's the word that I always think about when I think about the quincunx or the inconjunct, is how can we reconcile and kind of like meet in the middle. Oftentimes with this aspect, we see that there is some resistance to change. And I would especially say so with the Taurus placements in our chart, because Taurus is a fixed sign. It's resistant to change. It's the bull that's in the pasture that does not want to be disturbed. It wants to sit there and eat its hay and its grass and just hang out and be comfortable. Versus Sagittarius is like, you know, putting a fire under us, kind of saying, we got to get up, we got to get going, we got to go now, you know, and it is really wanting to get out there and experience some sense of adventure. So Sagittarius being a mutable sign, it thrives off of change and variety. So, you know, if you experience this in conjunct this next month, you're going to maybe find it challenging to embrace change while also maintaining a sense of security. But to get through this, I think it's about focusing on communication. And unfortunately, we're still in the midst of a Mercury retrograde. Mercury will be going direct in Sagittarius on the 1st of January, 2024. But man, this post shadow is going to kick all of us in the behind. I'm telling you guys this right now. You know, I don't candy coat things, but you know, Mercury retrograde in conjunction to Mars, we're already feeling a bit mentally frazzled. But with the squares to Neptune that's still going to hang around, there's a lot of like, how do we communicate better? And like, what do we believe in? And how do we know what other people need? And how can we relate to others? So it can be difficult because, you know, communication right now is quite challenging because of the aspects, not even the retrograde. For me, I keep thinking about how, you know, Mercury has been in a trine to the North Node, and it's a lot of like, don't think, just act. You know, like, what do you believe in? Okay, you go do that. You know, we have to learn to make lemonade. We can't just feel like we're in a position of being kind of sidelined because of a retrograde or some squares out in the skies. We become aware of it and we go, all right, what's the way around it? And that North Node in Aries is about being more like, well, what can I do? You know, when the world is kind of confusing and people aren't communicating well, or we're having challenges in relationships, what's the one thing I can do to be better? You know, what am I tapping into? What do I need? What do I believe in? And that might be the way out because I feel like there's going to be misunderstandings that may arise because of a lack of alignment in communication styles of Sagittarius and Taurus. Now, to navigate these particular challenges, I think we just really need to consciously work on finding common ground and respecting each other's needs and integrating the qualities of both signs. So the key here is compromise, flexibility, open communication to resolving some of the tension from this particular aspect. And I feel like this is a very important one because there's just so much damn energy in Sagittarius, and you know, the superior position definitely makes it a hot spot in the skies right now. All right, so let's take a look at Venus's trek. So we can kind of look at this play by play. I've got a handful of transits that I think are going to be important to really watch. Obviously, the first one beginning on the 29th of December, 2023, as Venus ingresses into Sagittarius. So like I said, my Taurus and Libra risings, pay attention. You guys are going to feel this very strongly. That area of your chart may quite literally be where you're doing some of your most work or where there's most pleasure kind of taking place. And Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising, you guys are going to enjoy this as well. Now, Venus entering into Sagittarius should create a pretty, I would say, a pretty instant shift in terms of energy, especially because we're going to be receiving some trines from the moon in Leo. So right off the bat, the late night 28th going into the 29th, we're experiencing some fire trines. And so things are kind of on the move. When Venus enters 0 degrees, there is almost like an opportunity to hit restart maybe in relationships or when it comes to personal style or pleasure. One thing I will say is that those of you guys who are ruled by Venus or Sagittarius risings, you want to wait until after we get out of the Venus square Saturn before you make any aesthetic changes. I would say any Sagittarius rising, sun, moon, or rising anyway with a Mercury retrograde in your sign, let's wait until Venus gets into Capricorn and trines Jupiter before you're making any hair changes, style changes, things like that, cosmetic stuff. Just wait a little bit. And then the next aspect that we're going to see, which will be on the 1st, just a couple days later, is that New Year's Day, Venus is going to square Saturn. Okay, so this is the transit that I was really kind of eyeballing for New Year's Day. You guys know how I feel about the real true New Year's. I like to celebrate that when the sun ingresses into Aries. So not a fan of seeing like the first day of the calendar year with Venus square Saturn, where we may be feeling like there's blockages or there's delays or there's dissatisfaction or challenges in relating to other people. And this is at a 3. So it might represent challenges in, telling other people how we feel, communicating, sharing our beliefs and our values with others, challenges or delays with, relationships and relationship commitment. Just overall, I feel like with Venus and Saturn square, to me, Saturn squares feel like a stop sign or a speed bump that slows something down. And Venus in Sag, it does not want to slow down. It wants to push through something. It wants to keep going. So I could see a lot of people feeling a little bit more sensitive than usual about how they're starting the new year. They could be more self-critical, especially of their appearance and their bodies. They could be a lot more critical of whether or not they felt like they shared New Year's Eve with a loved one or if they are in a relationship. I want to remind everybody that when Venus makes aspects, it's really reverberating off of that south node. So I could see a lot of people looking around going, well, I didn't have, a romantic partner for New Year's, Eve, or, my partner was away or they were traveling or, not getting that feeling of feeling loved or wanted, right? And really for me, at a 3, it's like who does and doesn't reach out, right? And I know a lot of people will, say, oh, how you spend the first day of the year or New Year's is going to kind of, lay the groundwork for the whole year. And I personally don't subscribe to that. So if you're more sensitive about what's going on New Year's Eve or whether or not you got a call from somebody or if you're going stag to a party, the Venus square Saturn really is, I think, the reason why. And I think if anything, it's possibly just going to create some challenges in not just relating to other people, but like some people, I would say, won't know how other people feel unless they reach out. Like you could have 2 people with Venus square Saturn in these signs. They're both equally waiting to hear from each other. And because they haven't heard anything, they just don't reach out. And so like both parties end up not hearing from each other because, they're kind of missing each other with that square to Saturn in Pisces, which can be like Neptunian. Anyway, not the best day for love, relationship, harmony, financial harmony, and definitely some room for miscommunications. I guess the silver lining is that Mercury will station on the 1st and Mercury is still in a trine to the North Node. So it's a lot of like, well, what do I believe in? Do I believe that, I'm not as valuable because I'm not in a relationship? Or do I believe that I am beautiful? There's a lot of reworking thoughts revolving around, I think, self and your beliefs about yourself on the 1st. So watch for those challenges and those delays. Then we're going to get to, obviously, by the new year, Jupiter is now direct. So both Jupiter and Uranus by the end of January will be direct, and they're just on that fast track for a conjunction in the spring. But Venus, being ruled by Jupiter and Jupiter being direct does allow us to receive much more abundance, to receive much more love, much more connection. So after we get out of that square to Saturn, then we get into the quincunx or the inconjunct on the 3rd to Jupiter. And this is kind of the weird wonky day that I was talking about because Venus and Jupiter, they don't quite see each other or they're trying to kind of like reconcile something. Now, something that I notice about this day is that we're also going to have the moon come into conjunction with the south node. Moon's ruled by Venus. Venus is in conjunct Jupiter. So this could literally be about, how we are learning to release and let go of old storylines with relationships and old patterns in relationships where we're not allowing lack of relationship or freedom from other people to inhibit or get in the way of our self-love or our commitment to ourselves, our relationship with ourselves. This is an agitating aspect because I do feel like it's like invisible. The only positive thing here is that the moon is sextiling Venus. So it's really it's insinuating perhaps we have to like learn to let other people go. We have to learn to let other people do what they're going to do to go their own way. And that's truly when we're able to experience the most freedom in relationships, because if something is meant to come back to us, if we're meant to connect with somebody or reconnect with somebody, we will. But Venus in Sag is going to teach us we have to give people a lot of rope to go and do what they want to do and make the conscious choice to come back if that's what they want. Now, this is not the best day for making big decisions in regards to relationships and also money. Remember, Jupiter makes things bigger. And so like, let's say you're traveling, there may be unexpected fees relating to that. I say that because Venus is in a sign that deals with travel or education. We may start to kind of also realize that, you know, what we thought we wanted in regards to relationships or who we've been holding on to may not necessarily give us what we need to feel loved. So this might be a day where you're kind of like pulled in two directions between stable and secure and grounded versus kind of taking a walk on the wild side and going and doing something outside of your norm that may require you to really reevaluate what your priorities are or what your values are. There can be a sense of also like, you know, conflicts in regards to your philosophy about relationships as well. Because Taurus has a tendency to be much more traditional, and Jupiter was known as kind of like the philanderer. Jupiter connecting to Sagittarius can be also about like a temptation going on in relationships. And so I would say in this particular transit, really paying attention to where we need more adventure can actually be the sign and the signal to kind of liven up relationships. I think the square to Saturn might keep a lot of people a little bit more honest. And I also feel like this is about honoring that kind of more, wild side of us in Aries. You know, we need something that's about personal pleasure and exploration and excitement. And, you know, a lot of us are going to be kind of saying, well, you know, is the grass greener on the other side at the end of the transit when Venus squares Neptune? Probably not. So I could see a lot of people feeling like they need more excitement in relationships, and there is some kind of moral or ethical conflict, or there's some legal limitations, or there's some religious limitations revolving around these things that would keep us confined in certain relationships. But that wildness of Sagittarius and Aries, you don't want to tame that, right? That North Node in Aries is basically saying like, I want what I want. And Mars in Sagittarius, Mercury in Sagittarius, Venus in Sagittarius, it needs to spread its wings, it needs to fly. So sometimes a little bit of travel, a little bit of a different cuisine, a different kind of theme for date night, learning something new together, you know, planning something together can be just what you need in order to, I think, further kind of deepen relationships with a partner. Now, on the 11th, we're going to see Venus start coming into trines with planets in Aries. So move this along a little bit. Here we go. And there we go, on the 11th. So Venus will hit 15 degrees, another Gemini degree, and trine Chiron in Aries, also direct. So this is where words and communications, our beliefs about love and relationships, travel, culture, what have you, is in alignment with self-healing. Like there can be something very therapeutic about the truth that comes with Venus and Sag, and being like, you know, right between the eyes, this is what I need. You know, can you give this to me? I would like to have this experience, or I would like to venture into this realm of learning more about each other and exploring, because Venus can be about intimacy as well. And really, you know, individuals acknowledging what they need on a personal level when it comes to freedom in relationships. And so I think we may see that we have to give our partners, those of you who are committed, a little bit of room to breathe, to go if they need to travel, to explore something, to learn something new. And it's possible as Venus starts coming into a sextile with the South Node and a trine with the North Node, that the more that we are encouraging and being positive and optimistic about how some of these things are unfolding and how we're becoming the better version of ourselves, it can really enrich relationships. Relationships with partners, with clients, with friends, with family. So you're going to start to really see with Venus coming into contact in a harmonious trine with Chiron that art and beauty can be healing, travel can be therapeutic, you know, connecting with coaches and teachers and mentors, reading things, self-help books on love and healing and wellness can also be really helpful. It's interesting that this is happening on the new moon in Capricorn, which is intense in its own right. But Venus being 12th house, it can talk about some kind of spiritual healing that is kind of brewing or on the forefront. And then the 14th was a day that really piqued my interest because we got a lot of stuff going on this particular day. This is when Venus will trine the North Node in Aries, okay? And it will sextile the South Node in Libra. Now this will be at a 19, so this is a relationship degree. It is about partnerships, two people of some kind. Venus is also going to sextile the South Node, so it's going to be about releasing and undoing old relationship patterns, what we're learning from it. It might be a day where we're communicating or taking something from past relationships and using that for inspiration for art or for writing or for sharing with other people. We're also going to see Venus in conjunct or quincunx Uranus. So we've got 19, 19, 19. We're going to see a lot of 19s that are going to happen on the 14th. So, you know, when Venus quincunx are in conjunct Uranus, there is something that is changing or shifting or destabilizing, and the impact that it has on Venus related things. Now, on this day, we're going to see the moon move through Pisces and square this, and then also sextile Uranus. So I feel like this can talk about like where there can be some challenges in terms of our international relationships and the impact that that's having on import, export, trade, physical goods, cost of food, energy, electricity. You know, Venus does have some kind of connections basically to war, believe it or not. Even though Mars is the god of war, sometimes we can see that wars were fought over women or conflict involving women. And I think that there can be some war stuff that's brewing now out in the world revolving around not necessarily women, but goods, right? Goods, services, values, and there can be some conflict going on in regards to certain countries that are or aren't in alliance with other countries. And so it can be having an impact basically on goods. So whether you're hearing that prices are, you know, spiking up because there's some tension in a foreign land, or, you know, the impact that it's having on, you know, shipping and receiving and costs of that, or delays, somehow because of tensions that are arising, we are definitely going to see that that's going to have an impact on the markets and the cost of goods. This particular day, I feel like this can be something comes out of the blue, we don't see it coming type of day. Because Venus and Uranus are in that quincunx or that in conjunct, whatever it is, it kind of comes out of nowhere and it can blindside us. Yeah, and I would say just with the amount of energy that's building in January anyway, as planets are coming into conjunction with Pluto and like Pluto's changing signs, there's already this heightened sense of intensity and changes revolving around governments and superiors and people who are in charge. So it's possible that what's really going on here with Venus in conjunct and Jupiter being in relation, that part of this bulking up of, you know, who's in power and who's saying this, that, or the other, or who's in charge, is because they're wanting to take control of certain material goods and possessions. So I'm thinking about like metals, I'm thinking about natural materials, places where there's like agriculture, that kind of stuff. And then on the 16th of the month, we're going to see Venus come into conjunction with Ceres, which is interesting because Ceres is an asteroid goddess. She deals with being like the nurturer, the mother. Ceres can be about separation. It can be about, you know, like separating mothers from children. We think of the story of Ceres and Demeter, but it can also be about grain. It can be about major impacts of shortages revolving around grain and wheat and bread. And once again, ruled by Jupiter. So I think we're going to see in certain parts of the world that there's going to be increased costs for food. Okay, we're already hearing about this as an American. I can tell you it's outrageous what some cities are facing in regards to food shortages and also food deserts where there's, you know, nowhere to get food, or places that are kind of closing down, or overpriced groceries. We're hearing all about this in Canada right now, which I think is really significant. People who literally are having to take to the internet to talk about the fact that they can't afford to feed their families. This is very much that Venus Ceres energy, and Venus is about nurturing and nourishing, right? She's got connections to Taurus after all. So I think we're going to be hearing more about individuals speaking up about, you know, what's going on with food and our inability to be able to nurture and to give what we need. This will also be in opposition to Vesta. which is about the home and, providing. So I don't think it's limited purely to just food. I think we're going to be talking about this more in a kind of like philosophical way. That's like, what are we if we don't have resources, if we don't have food? We can't nurture families. We're going to have a difficult time creating communities, and really have to reflect on where our responsibilities could or should be. And this could also represent some kind of conflict between, people feeling like, well, if this is where we're at as a society with food, how am I even going to be able to afford a home, right? Oppositions to Vesta. And then the squares to Juno can represent conflicts revolving around relating and relationships. So we've got a grand mutable cross that's going on here with Venus coming into the square with Neptune, definitely squaring Juno and opposing Vesta. And it could really represent that feminine energy of being like, I can't do it all. I can't work full time and be a mom and be a provider and cook and clean and help my community or my family. And so mutable squares do kind of show us where something has to kind of turn. Now, the positive is that Venus has been in a trine to the North Node. Okay, so I guess I kind of skipped that. But when she was at 19, she was trining it. So really, the best is to get into harmony with ourself, right? Venus trine the North Node. So then Venus comes into conjunction with Ceres on the 16th. On the 19th, Venus begins to square Neptune. So this is where you want to watch, because this is where we all have to kind of take off our rose-colored glasses, right? Everything, all the red flags look like green flags with Venus square Neptune. I think that, when I think of Neptune, I think of like lighting. I think of videos, photography. I think of sacrifice. I think of waves of emotion, especially in Pisces. And that Venus in Sagittarius square Neptune is like where love and truth and divine femininity and taking action in that sense is putting the pressure on Neptune and trying to expose something. So it's trying to get Neptune to come clean or to tell the truth or to unveil something. And it's not the best day for, honesty in relationships or for expecting commitment. It may be a day where we feel a little let down or disappointed by a relationship or a financial matter. I will say that Venus, being connected to Taurus, this is going to be a day where the moon and Uranus are going to come into conjunction, and it's going to in conjunct Venus. So there is going to definitely be something that's feeling a little disharmonious for Venus anyway. Moon Uranus in itself is kind of saying, there's going to be some unexpected kind of like fluctuation with the market, or there might be, some object that, suddenly goes missing with a sextile to Neptune, or some unexpected expense or something that kind of pops up out of the blue. My advice is that when it comes to love and money with the Venus square Neptune, we want to just be really mindful this day. Okay. Watch out for scams, especially money that's like being transacted internationally. I think we may hear about some kind of scandal revolving around, churches, organized religion, some woman stepping up, or some female teacher, or maybe attorney, or some legal matter that can be about, victims of crimes. It can be about abusers and people who are stepping forward and, talking about shining a light, right? Sagittarius is fire. I think of it as like a wand, and illuminating some of the things that have been a little hidden and mysterious. No coincidence that January we're supposed to be hearing about the Epstein client list that's going live, and hearing more about some of this information. And the connection with Venus and the Jupiter Uranus is, I think, the connections of the international banks and the central banks, and where there's a storyline there, not just about the banks, but also their involvement in the companies that they're associated with, in particular, international film companies, right? Venus and Neptune squaring each other. Now, the positive is that if you're a poet, or if you're an artist or a creative, or somebody who does something that can be more along those lines, or even spiritual, you might find that you're more compassionate, much more sensitive. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more just in tune with feeling the flows of inspiration that can kind of be coming in as well. And then we're going to see on the 23rd, Venus will enter into Capricorn. And well, that'll be a story for another day. But right before Venus leaves, we're going to see a moon oppose Venus square Neptune. So be mindful that the Venus ingress into Capricorn is likely going to kind of go off with a bit of a bang. We're probably going to see something very significant happen. That ingress is going to be, well, we have a number of things hitting 29. So we're going to have Sun and Pluto hitting 29. Venus will hit 29. We're going to see a number of 29s. And planets are either at that 29 or they're kind of moving into later degrees. So things are definitely really heating up. Obviously, Venus going into Capricorn, totally different flavor. We're going to have this stellium of Capricorn planets building up in the sky all the way up until we actually see the Sun-Pluto ingress. So possibly, you know, Venus's move through Sagittarius, you know, 12th house to Capricorn is where there is some really significant changes going on with international relations behind the scenes, alliances and you know, people who are kind of coming together. I think about that 29-degree Sabian symbol of, you know, people meeting and having secret meetings and top discussions about who their alliances are. I think of things like the BRICS nations, you know, aligning and all coming together in the new year, talking about really moving away from the US dollar and no longer using that as their trading currency, essentially destabilizing what could be, you know, the United States. Venus, right? Venus's connection to Jupiter and Uranus. And so we will see super groups of banks and collective groups and even countries that are going to start focusing on new innovations in money and resources and how they're trading. Could it be a big run for, you know, physical metals and other things that could be valuable resources? I do think so. You know, I'm not a financial advisor, but reading the astrology, I think if we get any significant group that's going to be either utilizing significant physical materials like gold, silver, you know, Taurus has associations more with copper, but Jupiter's exaltation is in Cancer. So I'm thinking, you know, copper, I'm thinking silver. I think silver is going to be more readily traded if we do, for whatever reason, have to do that. Not that there's anything wrong with gold, but you have to understand Pluto is moving into Aquarius. So it's the opposite of Leo, and Leo is about gold. It's about the king. Aquarius is about the collective. It's about everybody, and it's going to be about inclusivity and collective wealth. And looking at Jupiter and Uranus inching closer, I think it's going to be people who are going to start trading goods and services, people who might revert back to silver, people who may see the benefit in investments in copper. You know, if you look at just the run up of what's happened with silver and you compare it to gold, silver has been outperforming gold. But nevertheless, we're hearing a lot about major countries that are stacking gold. So we'll see. Is it going to be that? Is it going to be cryptocurrency? Is it going to be trade of goods and food? Maybe. But we'll talk about that more as we get closer to some of those transits. I did want to take you guys through the 12 rising signs very quickly and show you where this Venus ingress is taking place. I do believe I also talk about this on my January horoscope. So if you haven't seen my January 2024 horoscopes, I recommend taking a look. They are live for you. As always, I am a Western astrologer. I do not practice Vedic. I practice Western astrology. And for the purpose of my videos, I use whole sign because it's going to be easiest for everybody to follow along. Especially when a planet ingresses, it's going to go from 0 to 29 degrees. So you can listen to your whole sign, rising sign. I recommend listening to your rising sign first, also known as your ascendant, and then you can listen to your sun or moon sign. All right, so let me change this over for you guys. All right, so we're going to start with Aries and Aries rising first. For you guys, you're going to be having Venus transiting your natal 9th house. Okay, so it's moving through the 9th house here for you in a fellow fire sign. So you'll be experiencing some trines to your sun, moon, or rising, which I think is going to be wonderful for your appearance. I think it's going to be great for your energy. And I think it's going to be really great also, maybe even for relationships with people at a distance. Now, Venus transiting the 9th house is really going to be about relationships that involve travel, learning, or cultural exploration. Maybe values with a partner who share a love for higher education and philosophy kind of comes up for you. You may also find that you're attracted to broad-minded and open-hearted, people who have a different approach to life. I think about how Venus rules relationships, and so it can mean that either you or a partner are traveling or traveling together or anticipate some kind of opportunity for travel. And I think that love can come at a distance, or love can come through finding pleasure in education or taking a new course or something that can be about self-help or wellness. And Venus's connection to your second house might mean that you're investing more in learning with a partner or taking a new program or purchasing a book, something that you're potentially doing that brings you some sense of security and value, okay? Good luck, Aries. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You will be experiencing Venus transiting Sagittarius in your natal 8th house. This is really important for you, Taurus, because, Venus rules your chart, so it rules your first house of your health in your appearance, okay? 6th house and 1st house. And Venus is going to be going through your 8th house. And so for you, this is about intimacy. This is about shared adventures and deep conversations. I think that you may find that you're more attracted to mysteries of life and the exploration of the unknown. Values and personal transformation in growth in relationships. I do feel like this is a time that can be very sexy for you. I do feel like this is a time where you may have more access to other people's resources, or other people may be more generous with you. I think about how the 6th house is going to be bringing in health, but only if you're willing to kind of do that work to maybe purge and clear out and purify or detox stuff. And I think that it can also let you learn a lot more about being of service and being connected with a cause that's important to you. 8th house can be taxes, it can be loans, it can be anything revolving around your partner's income. And I know Mercury has been retrograde in this area, but now that Venus is showing up, now you may have access and you may feel like there's more that's being returned to you, or there's people who are being more generous with you throughout this transit. You also can go through some form of personal transformation with Venus being in this particular sign. And I would say as Venus comes into Capricorn and it starts trining you, you may be one of the signs that really utilize the first month of January to really make a huge change or a shift. So if you're like, hey, I'm cutting certain food out of my diet, or I'm detoxing or whatever, as soon as Venus gets into Capricorn, it starts trining your ascendant at the end of January, you'll really start to see the effects of that, okay? Good luck. We have Gemini and Gemini rising. You are going to be experiencing Venus's transit in the sign of Sagittarius through your natal 7th house. I love this for you, Gemini. I love Venus in the 7th. Venus is really happy there. This is the area of your chart that is about relationships, partnerships. It can be clients. It can be your relationship with a business partner. It can also be your relationship with teachers and mentors. This is bringing in partners who are optimistic, open-minded, and adventurous. You may find that you're desiring a relationship that allows you for personal freedom and growth, and values and shared beliefs. You have some kind of connection there. Now, if you're single, it can be a time where somebody shows up, especially because Venus rules your 5th house of romantic relationships and true love. You also have connections to the 12th house. So this can be a time where there is some fantasy relationship situation playing out right before your eyes. It might mean that there is some kind of spiritual connection or past life connection here because of Venus's connection to your 12th house. I know that Mercury has been retrograde in your 7th house. And so if there's been miscommunications in relationships, if you have felt like there's been a lot of misunderstandings and confusion, Venus coming through here can be a period where there can be making up, or it can be a period where you're healing post kind of breakup and separation from someone. So it depends on where you're at with that. But I think for the most part, Venus moving through here and Mercury being here at the beginning part of the transit does seem to indicate that you are kind of getting on the right path with another person and you're able to kind of move forward. Okay? Good luck. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You will be experiencing Venus's transit through Sagittarius in your natal 6th house. For you, Cancer, this is all about values and work that involves, exploring and learning. Relationships with colleagues may have a friendly and open kind of dynamic. You may find more pleasure in healing or going to the gym or taking care of health. And you may seek variety and excitement in your daily routines. Now, the 6th house is pets. It can be your workspace, your relationship to coworkers, your habits, your health. And it's very much connected to your 4th house of home, family, and the past, and also friends and things revolving around your goals. So I do feel like you can make friends at work. I do feel like you can go and do some group fitness stuff and you can make new friends and connect with people. It may be a time also where you're kind of better organizing your home space. You're getting some kind of support from your family with your home or your health. But yeah, Venus moving through here also is kind of challenging. It can represent, having to work hard at love or having some challenges or some setbacks. With Venus's connection to the South Node, I do feel like there may be some help from a friend involving finally wrapping up old chapters and old relationships that need to go, or closing out old things in regards to your home. And I think it's gonna be easier for when Venus gets into the 7th house, quite honestly. So in the 6th house, you have to do your due diligence to have better health. And I think that you'll have that by kind of sticking to a routine, a plan, or being of service, okay? Good luck. We have Leo and Leo rising. You will be experiencing Venus's transit through Sagittarius in your natal 5th house. I love this transit for you. I cannot tell you this enough. I feel like you are the missing piece to the fire trifecta. So we've got some placements in Aries. We've got a Venus transit in Sag. And you are the missing link. So you, Leo, will be experiencing some fire trines throughout this transit. Venus loves being in the 5th house. And the 5th house is all about creativity expressed through adventurous and spontaneous activities, romantic attraction to people with a sense of humor and a love of adventure. And you'll enjoy taking risks and creative pursuits. I think about Venus's connection to your 3rd house, and it might have you feeling a little bit more creative. Maybe you're more willing to kind of tell people who or what you love. Writing love letters or connecting with people through travel is very likely. So if you're single, getting out in your neighborhood, mingling or traveling is important. I also think about Venus's connection to your 10th house, and it's all about your career and reputation. So there's something here where it's like, if you can get creative, if you can be better about self-expression, if you're tapping into some of your talents, it's only going to further your growth when it comes to your public life and your profession. So you're having to be kind of creative about how you can go about navigating that. I do feel like Venus trines to your ascendant are also going to be about, making some positive changes to your appearance. And it might be just through the means of having better self-love or doing more work revolving around, really pampering yourself and taking care of yourself, and that might kind of reverberate out to the world, okay? Good luck, Leo. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You'll be experiencing Venus's transit through the sign of Sagittarius in your natal 4th house. For you, Virgo, this is the house of family and relationships to family, the past, or your home. It's possible that family relationships are influenced by a desire for freedom and exploration. Home may be decorated with travel souvenirs or items with cultural significance, and emotional fulfillment will be linked to a sense of freedom. Interesting. Well, the South Node being here and that connection to Venus, and now Venus is in the 4th. It makes me feel like you're maybe going through some changes where you're experiencing some financial fluctuations or like letting go of things or having some losses, but you have the love and support of family, okay? Or people who feel like family. Venus's ingress in the 4th can indicate that you're going home or you're spending time with a female relative or they're coming to stay with you. It can be a wonderful time for home decoration. I would just say that, Venus's squares to Saturn in your 7th and then Neptune in your 7th may indicate a sense of like you and a partner not being on the same page about how you want to live your life, where you want to live, what kind of drapes or, furniture you want. You guys may not share the same taste, and you may kind of feel as if there's some question marks about what the future of home may look like. Obviously, it's uncomfortable because it's also squaring your ascendant. So, this Venus transit, similar to the Mercury transit, has been showing you where there's been this readjustment going on at home. And so now Venus coming in might be that there's an opportunity for you to be able to invest in a new space, or you might be able to move into a new space, or money comes from family or real estate, which can kind of show you the path forward. And I think the name of the game is change and transformation because of these trines to the North Node in your 8th house, and where there is some growth coming from other people's resources, which could help influence this change in your home, right? Good luck. So we have Libra and Libra rising. You will be experiencing Venus's transit through the sign of Sagittarius in your natal 3rd house. Well, Libra, you and Taurus are ones that I'm watching because Venus rules your chart. So Venus rules your appearance and your body, and it also has connections to change and transformation. So Venus's move through the 3rd house is going to bring opportunity to express love through communication and shared ideas. It's possible that you'll enjoy learning more and engaging in philosophical discussions. You may have an adventurous approach to short trips and local exploration. So you may get more familiar with your neighborhood, maybe spending time with a sibling or hanging out with your neighbors and socializing. This can be a time also where you find that you're just writing more, sharing more, learning more. You're finding pleasure in a book or a long drive maybe. And somehow with Venus's trines to the North Node in your 7th, it's improving relationships. Communication in the 3rd house is a way of showing love. Writing letters to a partner, sending messages to people, reaching out seems to be really important. It does seem to me like the challenge here, and maybe it's you, maybe you and Taurus and Sagittarius are the ones who are kind of leading with love over this next month. Venus is squaring Saturn, and Venus is also squaring Neptune. So you're having to really practice communication more than usual to better make sense of health or routine or work habits. Maybe there's some, travel that comes up that conflicts with your work schedule. Maybe there's some, changes that are coming up in terms of how you communicate and the kind of work that you're doing, maybe online or in terms of education, that you're realizing isn't really meshing, with your schedule. So Venus moving through the 3rd house is trying to help you focus on communicating, getting the point across a little bit better, and giving you a little bit more pleasure when it comes to learning and sharing information with other people. Okay? Good luck, Libra. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, you are going to be experiencing Venus's ingress into Sagittarius, which will be in your natal 2nd house. For you, Scorpio, this is a wonderful place. Venus loves to be in the 2nd house. I know a lot of Scorpio and Scorpio risings with the retrograde that's been here the last month. Obviously, a lot of shakeups going on with your money or your resources, your spending power. Maybe you've been feeling like there hasn't been as much resources coming in. So Venus coming into the 2nd house is going to make you feel a little bit more abundant. Values and experiences will be much more important than material possessions. That's one thing I'll say about Venus in the 2nd house here. You may be drawn to investments in travel, education, or philosophy, and there can definitely be financial generosity and optimism that can arrive. I'm really loving the fact that, Venus is connected to your relationships, and it's also connected to, subconscious patterning. So you may realize that there's some changes going on in what you value, and that's impacting your relationships possibly in a positive way. I think that one thing I would think about, Scorpio, is whether you're single or you're in a relationship, so much of the storyline in the spring of next year is generosity from other people, making money with other people or people coming in and helping you or some kind of collaboration which is bringing you wealth as Jupiter and Uranus come into conjunction. So a lot of this is learning that it's not about just you, it's about your relationship to other people, and that you can build wealth together, that there can be very positive opportunities for financial abundance with another person. I think Venus going through here and making trines to your 6th house is really getting you to think about, well, how am I spending my money, and what is it that I'm investing it in, and what's important to me, and how can I kind of like narrow down my schedule in a way where I'm feeling more productive, so I'm making money in a way that feels pleasurable. So I'm bringing in the resources that I want, and I'm doing, you know, work on the schedule that I'd like to be doing it in. Yeah, for the most part, I think any investments or you know, Venus can be about luxury investments. You may be spending money on travel, and you may be thinking about also investing money in traveling with another person because of the connection to Jupiter. Okay? Good luck, Scorpio. We got Sag and Sag rising. Obviously, Venus is ingressing into your sign. I can imagine so many Sagittarians that have been like in the mirror with the scissors, just ready to cut the bangs or trim something or remove something or change something with this retrograde Mercury with Mars. And so maybe you've been going back and forth about making a change, making a cut, or you've been, you know, working through some subconscious things. Now Venus comes into your first house. So it's blessing you with beauty. It's blessing you with harmony, better self-love, better relations with other people. When Venus is in the first house, you know, personal expression of love is huge, and you're going to be a lot more outgoing and optimistic than usual. There will be a desire for personal freedom and independence in relationships. So there's a lot of like loving myself some more. And then also a love of adventure and exploration. Now, Venus is connected to your 11th house of groups and networks and other people or allies. It's also connected to your 6th house of health and wellness. So it's possible that you're really going after your goals. You're wanting to maybe make some adjustments and some changes to your schedule or your routine, where you're making more time for others. You're making time to maybe go to the gym more often, maybe to try a new hobby, maybe to just feel like you have a break so you can spend some time with friends. Regardless of what it is, to me, it seems like a lot of this is going to be about you going after what you want. I would lean into Venus in your sign trining the 5th house. It's about having fun. It's about being independent. It's about being creative, taking chances. And so you may feel like you're more willing to kind of wear your heart on your sleeve. And if you want to tell someone or something that you love them, or you like what they're wearing, or that you want to spend time with them, or you want to kind of really touch into a much more kind of romantic, playful nature, I definitely think that you're going to do that. And a lot of that is just going after what you want. Definitely be mindful of when Venus is coming into a square with Saturn or Neptune. You may feel as if like you're having to fill in the blanks where other people aren't giving you what you need. And that can be relationships, that can be family members, that can be roommates, you know? And so Venus in the first house is a lot of like, well, I love me, even if I don't feel like I'm getting the love from places that I should be getting it from, like friends and family or people who I live with, and really needing to kind of nurture yourself more. And with those inconjuncts and quincunxes to the 6th house, there is a need to really be mindful of your body and your health, and also your habits, and turning over new habits when it comes to your work and your lifestyle, okay? Good luck, Sag. Enjoy this transit. We have Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You will be experiencing Venus's transit through your natal 12th house. For you, Capricorn, this is a much more spiritual and artistic kind of time. You may be pursuing avenues for expressing love and beauty behind the scenes. There can be desires for a sense of freedom and independence in matters of the heart, and there may be a hidden or idealized view of love or relationships that are emerging this month. Now, Venus has connections to your career, and the South Node is there, so a lot of you guys are maybe daydreaming about new jobs, or you're kind of strategizing or planning things behind the scenes. Maybe you know that there's a new opportunity that's emerging. Venus also has connections to the 5th house of creativity and romance. So some of you guys may be saying, hey, I'm taking time behind the scenes. I'm traveling. I'm going somewhere with, you know, a romantic partner. I'm meeting somebody at a distance. Maybe you're doing some kind of work with your inner child or with younger people in general. I think Venus going through this house can be positive because it's about this relationship that you have with spirit or with the goddess. Meditations on love, reflections on love, clearing out old storylines in regards to old statuses in the world seems to be really important. And it can be a time also where you're just doing a lot of like creative work kind of behind the scenes. The one thing that I would say is that, there's been a retrograde that's been on your ascendant, and it went into the 12th. So some Capricorn sun, moon, or risings have been feeling like they're kind of like in their shell, or maybe they've been sick and they've been healing, or they just feel like they need more privacy. So as Venus crosses your ascendant, you're like ready to reemerge again. You're ready to socialize again. You're ready to be seen again. So this may be happening as we're getting closer to the end of January. So think about what you're kind of doing behind the scenes and how you can be finding ways to better kind of connect with the goddess spiritually. Something I love for Venus transits in the 12th house is Deepak Chopra has like a whole meditations on love CD. I think it's on YouTube, actually. You might be able to find it. But whether you're in a relationship, or you're healing the relationship with yourself, or you're letting go of the past, you want to bring somebody new in, Venus in the 12th, that's like an awesome thing to listen to. So go and YouTube that, and maybe it can be helpful as you're kind of moving through these Venus transits. Good luck. And we've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You'll be experiencing Venus's transit through Sagittarius in your natal 11th house. For you, my Aquarians, Venus through the 11th house is going to bring a much needed kind of boost to your social life. So this will be attracting friends who share a love of adventure and exploration. You'll be valuing social connections that contribute to personal growth and learning, and most likely engaging in group activities related to philosophy or cultural exchange. You had a retrograde here, so there can be a little bit of back and forth. So if there's been some misunderstandings with friends, there can be something that gets smoothed over. I do feel like this can be about socializing with friends at home or connecting with friends from the past. It can also be about connecting with friends at a distance because of Venus's connection to your 4th and your 9th house. Now, when Venus is in the 11th house, we have parties and invitations, and there can be collaborations. Love can be found in social situations. So if you're single, going out and mingling, going to parties, being around other people can be really great. I do feel like for many of you, though, there may be this feeling that you're having to kind of like, reach to kind of connect people because Venus's connection to your 9th house. And you may feel like some of the people that you love the most are further away. So there can be the sense of being like, okay, I'm trying to get out there and meet new people, or I'm joining a new group or a club or association. But also I think about how Uranus rules your chart, and Venus and, Uranus are kind of in conjunct each other. So there may be the sense of being like, okay, not totally thrilled about who I've been spending time with or what friends that I have, I can't go out and socialize. So like, let me bring the party here. Let me invite people over. Let me have people over for dinner. So it may be about creating an environment that's much more conducive to socializing and something that kind of supports your current like home or living situation that makes it easier to stay connected with people. Okay. Good luck, Aquarius. And finally, we have Pisces and Pisces rising. You guys will be experiencing Venus's trek through the sign of Sagittarius in your natal 10th house. For you, Pisces, this is really great because it's all about your professional pursuits. It's about your professional reputation. It can be wonderful for relationships with people in your career. It may involve creativity, travel, or connection to people abroad. Definitely your public image is being influenced by a love of adventure and exploration. It can be a time where people are really seeing you and they're appreciating you and they're giving you praise for a job well done. And you may find success relating to travel, education, or cultural exchange. Now, Venus has connections to your 8th house of change, transformation, and other people's resources, as well as your 3rd house of communication, ideas, learning, and siblings. What's interesting is that, there's been a retrograde here. So there's been a little bit of like back and forth about what you're doing for work, what you enjoy doing, what changes you're going to be doing, what direction you're going in. And all of this has been squaring Saturn and Neptune. So likely many Pisces and Pisces risings have been feeling a little bit under the gun with these transits, where people have been pressuring you, or you've been feeling like there's some time frames that you're needing to adhere to, or just feeling like there's just been a lot of expectations. And, now Venus is coming in. So you can finally start to get some praise for some of the changes that you've been going through. If you're looking to do business with others, or if you're looking to give proposals or other things. This can go well with Venus in this particular part of the skies. I do feel like love can be found at work or within a professional realm, but I think you're going to keep things very professional because Venus is going to square Saturn in your sign, and then it's going to come into a square with Neptune in your sign. So there can be this sense of being like, okay, there's been some tension at work, or there's been some changes going on professionally, and like I don't want to rock the boat, you know, like I'm gonna play nice, but I'm not totally completely sold or sure about whatever, you know, professional situation is going on. Something I would say is like it's gonna be fine. You're gonna see as planets are going into Capricorn and they're starting to sextile your sign that you're collaborating or working with a group of people, or there's support coming in from a network or from friends that's really helping you professionally. And enjoy the moment, really enjoy now the positive kind of blessings, the more money, the more respect, the better relationships that you have with people at work as a result of like making these changes and also putting in a lot of effort in terms of your professional life or career in recent weeks, okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you guys and giving you some insight and food for thought on this Venus ingress. I'm very excited to see this change. But I'd love to hear from you. Where is Sagittarius in your chart? Do you have any personal planets that are being transited by Venus? And do you have a natal Venus and Sag story that you'd like to share with us about how you maybe occasionally, or maybe more than occasionally, take a walk on the wild side? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for your support. I'm wishing you all a happy new year. I will catch you guys back here on Sunday where we're going to talk all about the astrology for January of 2024. Until next time, I'll see all of you very soon. Take care.